We first meet Rick Grimes in a very unassuming manner when we open with the first episode of The Walking Dead. He's driving along a country road, not really knowing what this is about. When I first watched it, I hadn't read the comics, so I knew next to nothing about this world. So watching that first scene was so eerie. And as he comes up on cars overturned, a campsite that had been made on the side of the road, you realize something bad happened. And Rick coming upon that little girl, who we thought was a little girl, and he's still acting as a police officer in this instance. And he's telling her, "How can I help you? Let me help you." And as she turns, he realizes the horror that she has turned, that she's no longer one of the living. And so Rick pulls out his Colt Python and without hesitation shoots her. It's a moment that you still realize is sitting with Rick. He's not used to this. He's not an experienced walker killer at this point. It's so different seeing where he was at the beginning of the apocalypse to where he is now. And as you grow with him throughout the show, just that change of who he was, trying to hold on to the old world and becoming more and more of this person who is realizing he must do whatever is necessary to both keep him alive and the people he cares about alive. That's all that matters in the end. It's not about the way that we used to live. It's about the here and the now. He's always been this reluctant hero. He's never wanted this title of leader, and it's something that he just falls into because of the person that he is. Because of the person that he is, the people around him feel like they can trust him, that they can trust their lives with him. And again, going back to this person that he was, after everything he went through, the battle with Shane at the beginning, everything at the prison, the governor, everything with Terminus, the saviors, everybody that came up against him and his group. It all shaped him into the person he would end up being, this ultimate leader, the leader of these people. And yet in the end, he's still trying to get back to his family, trying to keep those he loves safe. And that's where we left him in season 9 of The Walking Dead. His last words, "I found them." When he's on that bridge facing down the walkers, it's not about his own safety. He will put his life on the line to keep his family safe. Ultimately, that's all he cared about. He's ready to say, this is over, this is it. And I think I was okay with that. I didn't want him to leave the show, but as far as the end of his character arc, I thought we hit a really good place with him. But lo and behold, we find out Rick is not dead. Jadis comes in, saves him, says, "No, I don't have an A. I never had an A. I've got a B," and sends him to the CRM. A whole government agency, a military organization that has been formed in the background that is trying to hold on to what the old world was and rebuild. They're trying to rebuild civilization. And Rick is now finding himself in the middle of that. We don't see Rick again until the finale of The Walking Dead, the end of the series. And I'll be fully honest, I haven't seen the remaining episodes of season 9 when Rick's gone. I never watched those, and I haven't seen seasons 10 or 11. I know a little bit here and there from what I've heard online, but I haven't seen those episodes in their entirety. I just never got back to it. But I did, however, learn that Rick had returned at the end of The Walking Dead. At the end of the show, he shows up. And that teases and sets up where are we going with this character into The Ones Who Live. Those moments tee up this show specifically, and it's really intriguing to see where it was going to go. After watching this first episode, I am so excited to see where this is going to go. We see Rick in a place that we haven't seen him in a long time, and that's a place of desperation. I think the last time I remember seeing Rick this broken was in season 7 after he dealt with Negan. After Negan broke him so bad at the beginning of that first episode, at the end of that first episode of season 7, I haven't seen Rick broken like this since then. But this is a different type of broken. It's not that same level of fear. I think more maybe it's a fear of losing his life so that he can't get back to Michonne, that he can't get back to Judith. He's caring so much, he's trying so hard, and we find out that we jump 5 years after the bridge. And Rick is doing whatever he can to get back. We find out he tried to escape 4 times. This is the 4th time. And we get to this point. It's something that the show always avoided, but now we see the comic accurate Rick. The Rick who loses his hand in a different way, because I believe in the comics he lost his hand to the governor. But this time around he cuts off his own hand to free himself from the chain so that he can then escape. And man, it was rough seeing that. You can tell as soon as he does it, he's losing so much blood, he's losing so much energy, he's about to collapse. He then cauterizes his stump in a burnt Walker body. That takes so much out of him in that moment. It was crazy. This is one of the best performances that Andrew Lincoln has given as Rick Grimes. I was fully bought in with everything he was doing. His rebellious nature of trying to escape and then realizing, okay, now I'm going to buy into this. I'm going to join up with the CRM, but not because of what they want. I'm going to use this. He's talking to his friend on the park bench. Esteban approaches him and he says something that gets Rick thinking, if you can't beat him, maybe join him. As he goes through this, he's preparing every little bit. He's preparing. He's like, I'm going to make my escape. I'm going to make my escape. We then jump to 6 years after the bridge incident. And he then goes and tries to make another escape. Rick is then convinced by Thorne, who he's built up a relationship with, a kind of a tenuous relationship, but he's built up a relationship with nonetheless. And she kind of pulls him into this place of stop trying to rebel. Every time you do that, you're going to get yourself killed. We're in the here and the now, and she's trying to convince Rick, stop going down this path that is ultimately just going to lead to your destruction. And in reality, she's right. It probably is. Because yes, Rick wants to get back to his family, but we also find out that in doing so, Okafor, he knows about Rick's family. And he tells him plain and simple, if you go after your family, I'm going to have no choice but to kill you and to kill them. Because this is a man that cares only about his duty. We find out that he went to so much lengths that he even sacrificed his wife in favor of the duty that he was trying to serve. He cares only about his mission, only about his duty. And after all this fighting, after all this resisting, Rick finally comes to this point of, I tried. He keeps saying, believe me, I tried. He's been writing these journals out to Michonne saying that this is my one little connection to you. And I know you weren't going to get any of these letters, but it's allowing him to process what's going on. Writing letters to Michonne, and yet knowing that she'll never get these. He really feels like he's on his own. Rick even admits he tries to end his own life. We see that. He takes the piece of glass against his neck, and he tries to end his own life. He's like, this is it. There's no hope here. So why should I continue? And I believe it's what Thorne said to him. She comes to him and says, you're a good man. You're one of the last good men I know. And it'd be better for you to be here in this world, helping us build a better society. And then Rick also realizes everything I was doing, everything I was trying to do would be for nothing if I just ended it here. While he attempts to return to you, everything that he did before the events of the bridge would have been for nothing. And so he finally comes to a place where he buys into what the CRM is going to do. Mainly because of everything that Thorne said, and maybe a little bit of what Okafor said. He realizes maybe this is the only life I've got. It's either do this or die. And so we see that Rick is now bought in. He's a soldier of the CRM. And we then see him go out on a mission with Okafor. They're in a helicopter. Rick's done his training. He now knows how to pilot a helicopter. And as they're going through, they have this conversation. Rick's having this conversation about a memory he had from childhood. And as we end the conversation, which is a really deep conversation, we get more of an insight on who Rick's father was. And now we get more of an insight into who Rick was before the apocalypse, before he was even an adult. And as the conversation's coming to a close, Okafor's talking, and they're attacked. Out of the blue, attacked. Missiles firing. Rick realizes Okafor's been impaled, and then boom, he blows up. They're in the midst of chaos, don't know really what's going on. Rick tries to take control of the scenario. Helicopters hit, taken down, they crash land. And then as they escape, Rick and the remaining survivors, remaining soldiers in the helicopter, they escape, try to fight off who's coming after them. And we see somebody with a sword coming after the remaining guys. And then I'm like, okay, I know this is Michonne. It's gotta be Michonne. And I know this is only the first episode, so she's not gonna kill Rick, but man, she got close. And if it wasn't for Michonne taking off Rick's helmet, oh, that would have scarred her like no other, realizing that she almost killed her husband. But we have that realization. The two of them finally meet up, and then we go right into credits. That was it. Left on such a high point, and then episode's over. Gotta say, this is one of the best episodes in the Walking Dead universe I've seen in a very long time. This episode had me gripped from start to finish. I was so excited at the end of this, so hooked, so gripped, couldn't wait to see what was going to happen in episode 2. If I'm going to give this episode a quick ranking, it's gotta be a 5 out of 5 or an A+ on the letter scale. I don't normally give episodes or movies perfect scores like this, and it might be just my hype, my excitement for what is to come, and maybe it's because I haven't been this excited for something in the Walking Dead universe in a long time, but I was so gripped from start to finish, and I cannot wait to see what is to come in episode 2. Cannot wait to talk about episode 2 with you. Look for that video very soon. Let me know what you thought of the first episode of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, down in the comments section. Remember to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything in the future from this channel. I hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.